They didn't scream or run away. They just stood there watching the barn burn. A name was still glowing in the wood. It was cut deep like someone wanted it to last forever. Rose. Not painted or written, carved with a knife. Then came the smoke. The kind that doesn't just hurt your throat, but hurts your heart. Nobody moved. Nobody dared to speak. Because in Cedar Valley, you don't name evil things out loud. You bury them or burn them. But Samuel Cross was different from everyone else. He stepped forward, calm like a storm about to hit. In front of the whole town, he said words that made half the people jump. She doesn't sleep in there anymore. She stays in the house now. Just like that, you could feel it. That moment when quiet turns into judgment. When truth walks in and dares anyone to stop it. But let me go back. A few days before the fire, a stagecoach came in late. The wheels groaned like they carried more than just weight. Nobody was waiting. Nobody ever did anymore. Then she got off with no shoes, sunburned skin, and torn dusty clothes. One strap hung off her shoulder, showing a bruise the color of wine. Her knees were scraped. Her arms had marks that looked like fingernails scratched them. She didn't ask for help. Didn't even look up. She just put her hand on the stage like it was the only thing keeping her from falling down. That was Rose Mitchell. Once the preacher's daughter, now a ghost with skin. Most people turned away, but not Samuel. He watched from his workshop where he made things from iron. The sun made long shadows at his feet. He didn't blink or move, because sometimes a man doesn't need to see everything to know something wrong happened. Before Rose went into the doctor's house, she said words that burned deeper than fire. Use me, break me, just move me. They say it was just a barn fire. But I swear something much worse caught fire that night. Samuel didn't go to the doctor's house that day. Didn't knock or ask questions. But 3 nights later, he left bread on her window ledge. No note, no sound, just bread wrapped in old cloth. And one more thing tucked in the cloth like a secret, a peach, soft and bruised from his own tree. It wasn't much, but it was more than anyone else gave her. He turned to leave quietly, but her voice stopped him. Not loud or scared, just tired. You going to take your turn? Isn't that why you brought it? She didn't open the window or shout. She just said it like she'd said it too many times before to too many men who never brought bread. He left without a word. But the next morning, a red ribbon lay on his doorstep. Not new or fancy, just hers. From that day on, she sat on the steps at sunset. Never said much, never looked up right away. But Samuel would nod once as he walked from his workshop to the well and back. She'd sit there like maybe being quiet was the safest thing she had left. One evening after he gave her a tin cup of water, she finally asked, "Why don't you ask me what happened?" He didn't stop hammering. "Would you want to tell it?" She didn't answer. Didn't need to. Sometimes not telling is the only way to stay standing. That night, she left another ribbon tied to the well. Faded red. The kind little girls once wore when they believed in birthdays. They weren't friends yet. But there was something in the quiet between them. Something that remembered who she used to be. By the 4th evening, Rose sat further from the porch. Not hiding, not inviting, just there. Close enough to hear the hammer from the workshop, far enough so no one could claim her. She wasn't healing yet. But she was showing up. Sometimes that's all surviving looks like. Margaret Foster walked by that night in clicking heels and a tight dress. She slowed down just enough to let her mean words drip out. A girl like that shouldn't sit where decent folks walk by. She has no dignity left. Samuel heard it from his workshop. Didn't raise his head, but that hammer fell a little harder than usual. The next morning got worse. 3 local boys, barely men, hung around the fence near Rose. They weren't loud at first, just laughing too much and standing too close. One threw an apple core that landed by her foot. Rose didn't jump or look up. But the second one said something about broken toys being easy to borrow. The third just laughed and stepped closer, pretending to trip while touching the edge of her dress like it was a joke. That's when Samuel came around the corner. He didn't yell or make threats. He just looked at them long and steady, like a man who'd been quiet too long and was remembering he once fought wolves. The boys left. Not running, but not walking proud either. That night, Rose didn't sit outside. But when Samuel checked the side step, he saw another ribbon tied to the fence post. This one had a small coin tucked in the knot. Maybe a thank you. Maybe something else. He didn't touch it. Just stood there with his hand on the post long after the sun went down. Some stories don't need big fights to burn. Sometimes it's in the look a man gives when nobody else sees the fire starting. The next Sunday felt hotter than anything. Rose wore the same torn dress, not to show off, it was all she had. She walked to the general store alone. Just 10 steps from the porch, but far enough for trouble to find her. Tom Butler was already there with one boot on the rail, chewing something. He saw her and grinned slow. "Miss Clay," he said, pretending to tip a hat. Rose kept walking. Didn't answer or stop. That's when he moved. One hand grabbed her arm hard and pulled her off her feet. "What's the rush, darling? Thought you liked attention." The slap came first, not from her, but his hand across her face. Rose fell hard in the dust. People gasped, but nobody moved. Not until Samuel stepped from his workshop. Not walking, marching like every step burned the ground. He didn't yell or ask questions. He just hit him. One punch to the jaw. Tom dropped, but Samuel didn't stop. He pulled him up by the shirt, shoved him into a post, and with a voice that didn't get louder than a whisper, he said, "You touch her again, I'll bury your hand behind the barn." Tom bled from his lip. Didn't argue, joke, or even look back as he limped away. Rose didn't say anything that night, but Samuel found her old ribbon on his work table. Burned at one end, tied in a neat bow. He kept it in his back pocket. After that day, people started talking again. Not about her past, but about the man who stood up for her like it was the only thing that still made sense. The day after the fight, Rose didn't come out. No ribbons, no peaches, no quiet sitting. Samuel didn't knock or ask questions. But when the sun went down and his work was done, he left a small plate by her door. 2 pieces of cornbread, a boiled egg, and a folded napkin with her name written in the corner. Just one word, Rose. Next morning, the plate was gone. In its place was a single white button. Not fancy or new. But Samuel smiled when he saw it, because that's how healing starts. Not with fireworks, but with buttons and breakfast. That evening, she sat on the steps again. Closer this time, closer than ever before. He sat beside her without saying a word. Just before the sun disappeared, she leaned her head on his shoulder. Not heavy or desperate, just there. He didn't move or speak, but his hand rested gently over hers. For the first time since she got off that stagecoach, Rose closed her eyes without being scared. There's something powerful about a quiet man who shows up. Something special about a woman who chooses to stay. Not every story needs a wedding or a kiss in the rain. Sometimes it just needs a porch, 2 worn boots, and some peace nobody else dared give. So here's the real question. What does it take for a broken person to feel whole again? Is it justice, kindness, or someone who doesn't look away when it hurts?